Thank you for joining us, and let me start by saying that I appreciate you watching this video and attending the training sessions and being invested and involved in our SACSCOC reaffirmation. This particular session will cover preparing for SACSCOC on-site peer review visit, the principles of accreditation standards, reviews for interviews, specifically Section 13. It will cover a little bit of the QEP, a discussion of the standards, and then take us through standard 13.2, 13.6, 13.7, and 13.8. Briefly, if you have not already added these dates to your calendar, I ask that you do so. So our on-site reaffirmation visit will occur from March 25th to March 28th. Interviews will primarily take place in the afternoon of March 26th and the morning of March 27th. The exit conference or interview session will conclude on March 28th at the hotel workroom. And then finally, in December 2024, we will hear the final results of the affirmation of reaccreditation presented at the SACSCOC annual meeting in Austin, Texas. So the purpose of the SACSCOC on-site reaffirmation visit is that these committee members will come to Commerce, see our campus, and review and validate our compliance with the SACSCOC principles of accreditation. This is done through the review of compliance certification reports, such as the reaffirmation compliance certification submitted in September and the focus report submitted in February. Done through a tour of the campus, the conduct of interviews with faculty, staff, and students, and touring off-campus instructional sites. They will also review our Quality Enhancement Plan, or QEP. At this time, our mission statement is Educate, Discover, Achieve, and this aligns with our strategic plan and priorities. This has not been changed or approved for updates at this time. So if you are asked in interviews or other times by SACSCOC Reaffirmation Committee members about the mission, it is Educate, Discover, Achieve. Talking briefly about the QEP, this comes from Standard 7.2. The institution has a quality enhancement plan that A, has a topic identified through ongoing comprehensive planning and evaluation processes. B, has broad-based support of institutional constituencies. C, focuses on improving specific student learning outcomes and/or student success goals. D, commits resources to initiate, implement, and complete the QEP. And E, includes a plan to assess achievement of the QEP elements. The resource manual goes on to note that the QEP is an integral component of reaffirmation of accreditation for institutions and is derived from an institution's ongoing comprehensive planning and evaluation processes. It reflects and affirms a commitment to overall institutional quality and effectiveness enhancement by focusing on issues or an issue the institution considers important to improving learning outcomes or student success. Our QEP is titled Foundation for Your Future and is a career management, career preparation focused QEP. I'm not going to go through all these exhaustively, but this is another item from the resource manual. You'll notice that each of these top bullet points aligns with elements within the principal narrative. So located underneath these and in the other principles that we will explore in this session is an expanded explanation of what SACSCOC is looking for in this manual response. The QEP is conducted through three phases. Phase 1 is titled the Foundation Phase. It's here to provide students with a solid career foundation as they begin college and will be embedded in general education and lower-level career courses within the major content. Appropriate assessments and activities will be conducted and offered in Phase 1. Phase 2 is the Framework Phase, and it builds upon that framework and foundation to provide students with skills, content, and competencies for a successful future to prepare students for the possibility of a plan B. For instance, let's say that a student comes to A&M Commerce and wants to be a veterinary technician, begins taking lab classes and realizes that that's potentially not for them. Phase 2 framework will look at helping students pivot and use that competency and skills that they gained in other areas to move forward into another career. At this level, we're looking at major specific courses and mid-level major courses. It's important to note that this is for courses across all programs and all colleges at the university. So this is not applicable to just any one college, but for all students at the university. Appropriate assessments and activities will be offered non-curricularly at this phase as well. The final phase is capstone phase, and this is phase 3, and this is designed to launch students successfully into their career as a synthesis of prior learning from phase 1 and phase 2. At this stage, we're looking at capstone courses and experiences such as internships, clinicals, practicums, and student teachings. And again, appropriate assessments and activities will be involved non-curricularly at this final stage. Some additional information is that, as I said, we're looking at courses in every major, so this will be applicable and open for all students at the university, regardless of career, regardless of program, regardless of level, regardless of modality or location. We're looking at offering a non-academic micro-credential titled Career Ready that would represent completion of the non-academic elements of the QEP. Non-curricular activities will be offered through the Office of Student Career Preparedness with Arthur Lumsey. Though this QEP is open to all students at all levels and all modalities at the campus, there will be a data and research focus for our full-time, first-time, first-gen students. We're also looking at offering a mentorship by first-gen, faculty and staff, or those faculty and staff interested in supporting first-generation students with first-generation students to support them in their attainment of career elements and their success as a student. If you're asked about the QEP, or if you're interested in knowing some questions that might be helpful to think through or consider, is our assessment plans robust and reasonable? Are there sufficient institutional resources? And if yes, what are those resources? What form does faculty involvement take with the QEP, and how will learning or achievement be assessed in the QEP? If you're interested in more information on the QEP, answers to these questions, or anything else regarding the QEP, please reach out to Dr. Eric Branscombe. He's our QEP director, and he is set and more than willing to answer any questions that you have. Looking at the standards of accreditation, the Department of Education Standards has 20 unique standards that all institutions are reviewed on during the on-site visit. These vary from standard 5.4, qualified administrative academic officers, to standard 14.4, representation to other agencies. We were found non-compliant on 18 standards, starting with 2.1, which is institutional mission, and concluding with 13.8, institutional environment. You will see some overlap between these standards and our Department of Education standards, which results in a total of 30 unique standards that have been identified for interviews or exploration. I do want to say that each of these students will not have their own interview. They will be grouped by sections. So for instance, all the section 6s, all the section 9s, all the section 13s, regardless of if they were DOE or non-compliant, will be grouped together. So let's start looking at our section 13 standards. 13.2 states that the member institution provides the following financial statements: an institutional audit for the most recent fiscal year prepared by an independent certified public accountant and/or an appropriate governmental agency employing the appropriate audit. A statement of financial position of unrestricted net assets, exclusive of plant assets and plant-related debt, that represents changes in unrestricted net assets attributable to operations for the most recent year, and an annual budget that is preceded by sound planning, is subject to sound financial procedures and approved by the governing board. I would like to point out that the CR notes that this is a core requirement. The SACSCOC Resource Manual Rationale Notes states that the financial statements required in this core requirement are necessary as a minimum to provide documentation of financial resources and financial responsibility. It goes on to further explore the different documents and audits that are required with additional information on each. In our compliance certification, we submitted documentation and evidence that Texas A&M University of Commerce engaged Weaver and Tidwell LLP to perform a financial review of the fiscal year 2022 financial statements with prior year data for comparison. The required statement of UNEP or UNAEP was prepared and included in the financial review as a note to the financial statements, and appropriate financial documents were submitted for review with the exception of the most recent audit, which is still pending. In the findings of noncompliance, they stated that the institution provided a financial statement audit for the year ending August 31, 2022, as prepared by an independent certified public accountant. The institution received an unqualified financial audit opinion for the period under review, and a similar audit for the year 2023 was not available at the time of review. They also stated that the institution provided a statement of financial position of unrestricted net assets, exclusive of plant assets and plant-related debt, and that the institution provided evidence of a budget planning process that is pursued by sound planning. Additionally, we provided a budget for the fiscal year ending August 31st, 2023. Our focus response included that Texas A&M University Commerce's original response to standard 13.2 was submitted in September 2023, and the fiscal year 2023 audit was not yet complete. The most recent fiscal year ended August 31st, 2023 is now complete, and that the accounting firm of Weaver and Tidwell LLP conducted a review of the statement of net position, statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position, statement of cash flows, and related notes to the financial statement of Texas A&M University Commerce for the year ended August 31st, 2023. We said that based on this review, the independent accountant concluded that they are not aware of any material modifications that should be made, and included the completed annual financial report and auditor final opinion. With the submission of this updated response, Texas A&M University Commerce feels it is compliant with the current standard. As you are looking at standard 13.2 or preparing to answer questions with our SACSCOC reviewers, some sample questions or things to consider are audited financial statements or standard review reports prepared for public institutions as part of the system-wide or statewide audit, prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles in the appropriate audit guide. Essentially, are our financial statements prepared as expected? Did the most recent audited financial statement bear an unmodified opinion? Will final audited statements be received in time for the due dates of the SACSCOC reports? Are the independent auditor reports and the report on compliance and on internal control over financial reports included? And has the schedule of the UNAEP or UNEP been provided based on audited numbers? This schedule can be placed in audited statements or discussed separately. Standard 13.6 was an item of non-compliance as well as the Department of Education standard, and it states that the institution A is in compliance with its program responsibilities under Title IV of the most recent Higher Education Act as amended, and B audits financial aid programs as required by federal and state regulations. In reviewing the institution's compliance with these program responsibilities under Title IV, SACSCOC relies on documentation afforded to it by the U.S. Department of Education. The resource manual shares that many institutions are dependent upon Title IV federal financial aid to assist students with educational expenses and maintain adequate levels of enrollment. An institution must comply with the program responsibilities under Title IV of the most recent Higher Education Act as amended, or risk the loss of federal aid for both its students and organizational needs. As a primary gatekeeper committee member and candidate institutions seeking Title IV funds, SACSCOC is obligated to review information submitted by the institution or provided by the Department of Education. Similarly, most states have financial aid programs that provide funding to students at public and private institutions, and that there are additional compliance expectations and regulations that we will show compliance with. And that finally, institutions should remember that financial reviewers by SACSCOC policy will not be from the same state as the one under review, so additional explanation or context may be required or provided during the conversations. In our compliance certification for the standard, we say that Texas A&M University Commerce is in compliance with its program responsibilities under Title IV of the most recent Higher Education Act and audits its financial programs as required. The G5 web application was submitted for review as well. The most recent A133 audit inclusion was for fiscal year 2022, and there were no findings related to federal state funds, showing the university to be in compliance. There were a few audit compliance exceptions, however, that were noted and being corrected. In the review of findings on compliance from SACSCOC, it stated that the most recent A133 audit is still needed, which will be supplied. There were certain areas of non-compliance and correction noted as needing additional expansion information, along with addressing specific recommendations for correction. Finally, it requested that evidence is needed that demonstrates the institution has addressed findings in the September 2023 agreed upon procedures reported by an independent auditor and findings in the 2019 financial aid internal audit report. Additionally, it requested again the most recent A133 audit to ensure that no findings in the report relate to the institution. In our focus report response, we share that the most recent A133 audit conducted by the state of Texas and available to Texas A&M University Commerce was for fiscal year 2022, and that the 2023 audit was not yet available as of the submission date of February 12, 2024. There were updates to automated processes, including the report for disbursement of funds and award notifications, noted as areas of improvement. And in order to ensure the return of Title IV funds are handled in a timely manner, a new position titled the Financial Aid Advisor 2 Return to Title IV was created and filled in fall 23. This role is devoted to identifying and handling the return of Title IVs. There were other updates and revisions specific to findings of noncompliance that were addressed in the focus report response. For the standards and questions or things to consider or think through and be prepared to speak to is what other updates or revisions have been made in response of the findings of noncompliance? What was their impact or result? These are specifically applicable to those findings for the September 2023 audit and the 2019 audit findings. Did the most recent audit of Title IV federal funds bear an unmodified opinion? For public institutions, how often are financial aid audits required by the federal government? Because again, this may require additional explanation for those not familiar with that processes. Are there findings in the independent audit of the institution's federal financial aid programs? Are they significant material repeated or indicative of administrative capability issues? And are these question costs significant? And then providing additional explanation around what that significance is for our institution and what it might mean for students. Are there significant impending litigation issues with respect to financial aid activities? Are there significant unpaid dollar amounts due back to the Department of Education? Has adverse communication been received to the Department of Education? And if so, what was our response? What is the institution's student loan default rate? And is there a finding in the audit of federal awards rewarding student loan default rates? Looking at standard 13.7, which is finding a noncompliance and a DOE standard, this looks at physical resources and it states, the institution ensures adequate physical resources and facilities, both on and off campus, that appropriately serve the needs of the institution's educational programs, support services, and other mission-related activities. Looking at the SACSCOC resource manual for standard 13.7, it states that adequate physical resources are essential to the educational environment and include facilities that are safe and appropriate for the scope of the institution's program and services. General public and current and prospective students expect the institution to have appropriate physical resources to fulfill the needs of its programs, student support services, and other mission-related activities. So essentially that there are the expectations of our students and that we are meeting them with regards to the physical resources on campus and at our off-campus instructional sites. In our compliance certification, we included a statement that our institution has adequate physical resources and facilities to serve the needs of the institution's educational programs, support services, and mission-related activities. The Vice President for Finance and Administration, VPFA, has primary responsibility for the physical facilities and is responsible for ensuring appropriate levels of control over those resources and allocating financial resources to maintain facilities and resources for the campus, along with off-campus instructional sites. TGCB utilizes a space projection model to assess space needs at institutions of higher education, and this model predicted space needs in 5 categories for aid and commerce: teaching, library, research, office, and support. We provided 5-year historical data, noting a deficit of space in those areas, and that's being addressed in our campus master plan, which is utilized and is a living document. Discussion of campus facilities and plans for improvement were also included in line with our campus master plan. We further clarify that the goal of the university or campus master plan is to create a high-quality campus environment that speaks to the university's mission of teaching, research, and public service, educate, discover, achieve. It serves as the basis for making decisions to improve quality efficiency and identify flexible strategies for accommodating growth. We went on to talk about the liability of Texas A&M University system and that control assets are inventoried, tagged, and tracked following specific guidance from the A&M system asset management manual. So we look at involving not only our own institution, but the oversight of A&M system. And the SACSCOC offsite review findings of noncompliance. It stated that the institution maintains multiple instructional sites across Northeast Texas. The compliance certification did not provide adequate evidence or documentation of these physical facilities and resource site maintenance to serve the needs of its educational programs, support services, or other mission-related activities. They also requested up-to-date MOUs. And the report stated that the classrooms at various off-campus sites were managed by the building and property owners, but did not state whether they have adequate facilities for the educational programs being delivered by the institution. In our focus response for these all-campus instructional sites, or OCIS, updated MOUs and discussion of their maintenance and security was included. This included discussions of mesquite space leases, check learning and support resources, recent growth in Dallas, and MOU renewal for the Navarro Corsicana partnership, along with our other sites. We say that A&M Commerce provides a breadth of student support programs, services, and activities intended to promote student learning and engagement, as well as enhancement of student success in the classroom. That these are available on face-to-face and online modalities to support all students, especially those that are off-campus instructional sites and who take online classes. That there are efforts underway within and across the divisions of enrollment management, student affairs, and the dean of students, and academic affairs to increase and provide the support. Again, it was clarified that A&M Commerce students, regardless of location, may access any and all student services enjoyed by students who are enrolled on campus. The agreements with off-site locations are structured to be reviewed for adequacy and appropriate functional space to offer educational programs and serve students, no matter what site they are at. As you are speaking to the standards and questions or things to consider or talk to or be prepared to talk to, especially with regards to findings of non-compliance, is our overall physical facilities of the institution, even those at off-campus instructional sites, adequate in quality, scope, and condition to support mission of programs and services. Additionally, are there specific areas of concern in physical resources, and how are they being addressed? How does the institution evaluate appropriateness and sufficiency of physical resources at off-campus instructional sites, whether or not they're under direct control of the institution? So this might also include our dual education sites. Are there details available relating to classroom, library, laboratories, and other specific areas that address adequacy and appropriateness of facilities? Is there capacity review that occurs, or utilization studies that occur? Are there surveys or other information sources that provide information as to whether or not physical resources are adequate and appropriate? They might ask if facilities are properly and routinely maintained, and they might be interested in the technological infrastructure sufficient to meet the needs of the institution, especially for our distance education students and programming. Finally, Standard 13.8 looks at institutional environment. It states that the institution takes reasonable steps to provide a healthy, safe, and secure environment for all members of the campus community. In the SACSCOC Resource Manual Rationale Notes, it says that an institution has an ethical responsibility to take reasonable steps to provide a healthy, safe, and secure environment for all campus constituents. A healthy, safe, and secure environment enhances the accomplishment of the institution's mission and contributes to more effective risk management. It went on to clarify that in 2017, the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights required clarification for possible violations alleging sexual violence as part of its narrative, addressing a healthy, safe, and secure campus environment from institutions. Details around this should include any open investigations as well as closed investigations that were active at the last time of the comprehensive review. In our compliance certification, we stated that Texas A&M University Commerce is committed to providing a secure, safe, and healthy environment for our students, faculty, staff, and visitors. Although all university constituents can assist, the key departments for security, safety, and health for campus stakeholders are UPD, the Division of Student Affairs, and the Department of Emergency Management and Safety. The compliance certification went on to explore and provide information on the specific services and support provided by UPD, including the Pride Alert system and important steps in safety on campus. UPD is also responsible for preparing and distributing the annual security report to comply with the Clery Act and provide campus crime statistics. It clarified the Division of Student Affairs helps support a healthy campus environment through the offering of student health services, the counseling center, critical incident response team, and campus recreation. Again, that list is not exhaustive, but is a sampling of the types of services offered and overseen by the Division of Student Affairs. And then further clarified that the Director of the Department of Emergency Management and Safety has campus administrative responsibility for risk management, emergency management, transportation, and environmental health and safety of the campus. In the findings of non-compliance, it found that we take reasonable steps to ensure a healthy, safe, and secure environment for our academic community. However, we did not clearly express whether or not there have been investigations related to sexual violence, open or closed, in the last 10 years. So in our focus report response, we stated that since the last SACSCOC comprehensive review in 2014, Texas A&M University Commerce has not had any investigations by the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights for possible violations alleging sexual violence. For Standard 13.8, some questions or things to consider or prepare to think through in meeting with our faculty, with our SACSCOC reviewers. Does the institution have a safety plan, and is it followed? Is there an example of a time the safety plan was enacted? Who has campus administrative responsibility for health, safety, and security functions? And what is that reporting structure to the CEO or President Mark Rudin? If crisis communication has been necessary, were they effective? Are facilities and grounds regularly reviewed and or tested for health and safety concerns? If there are findings, how have they been addressed? What is the relationship with local law enforcement, especially here on campus and in the city? How does the institution address the standard of off-campus sites and branch campuses? Again, Texas A&M University of Commerce does not have any branch campuses at this time, so any items related to this question will be focused on off-campus instructional sites. Finally, how does the institution disseminate emergency procedures and other health and safety-related procedures? This list of questions, things to consider, comes directly from SACSCOC and is not an exhaustive list. There may be questions that they ask or pose that we have not thought of or have prepared for, so it's helpful to use these as just a starting point of the types of questions they might ask, but be prepared to speak to other elements as well. Thank you so much for joining, for listening to this session. Our successful reaffirmation is related and due to the work that you do every day. If you have any questions, would like a session performed specifically for your department or division, or like any more information on SACSCOC reaffirmation, please do not hesitate to reach out to Dr. Ricky Dobbs or myself, and we are more than happy to meet with you or speak with you. Again, thank you so much for your time, and have a wonderful day.